Down by Phil Wingfield. Kolkata, 14th of January 2007. Today is the festival of Makar Sankranti. The banks of the Hooghly heave with people performing their pujas, acts of worship or offering, in the freezing waters. Pretty much every Indian river is sacred to some extent, but the Hooghly is a tributary of the Ganges and has a bit of an edge. The stretch of the Hooghly either side of Howrah Bridge is home to the famous Ghats of Kolkata. A Ghat in this case is a flight of steps descending into the waters of the river. They are sacred areas used for puja and other acts of devotion. Some of them, such as the Jagannath Ghat just north of the bridge, are still in serviceable condition. Others have not fared so well, and a few have vanished altogether. Having left Mullet Ghat and the flower market, we head north on Strand Bank Road, which runs parallel to the Hooghly. At Jagannath, people stream in both directions through the arched decorative ironwork entrance to the Ghat and the river beyond. Hundreds of people mill around the steps, either preparing to enter the water or drying off, having performed their ritual. Flower petals, burned up incense and other puja detritus litter the Ghat, glued in place by Hooghly water. Strewn along the approach and around the entrance are small groups of beggars. Not only is it auspicious to bathe and perform puja on festival days, it is also auspicious to give charity. These scenes are repeated as we head north along the bank. Near Borough Bazaar rail station, lines of seated hopefuls flank the access route from another Ghat entrance to the road, where they spread along the roadside in both directions. To get to the river, we must walk a gauntlet of poverty. We have no loose change, no small coins. We can't afford to give notes to everyone here. Literally can't afford it. We walk through the lines, avoiding all contact with the sad, pleading eyes, and pretending not to notice the outstretched hands. I note that the begging bowls have little in the way of money in them. Some of them have none at all. But they all have rice, plain and simple grains of rice. Up until now, my experience of begging has all been cash-based. What it is to be so destitute you are prepared to sit in line all day for a handful of dry rice. Ancient beggars, nothing but skin and bone, couples with children, some very young, mewling babies, cradled by siblings of no great age themselves, all living with hunger and worse. It's a sobering experience, to say the least. Part way to the Ghat, we spot a guy standing to one side holding a bulging carrier bag and several more against the wall behind him. The carrier contains dozens of smaller bags filled with little balls of puffed rice, held together by some edible sticky substance, made especially for distribution to the assembled poor at 4 rupees a bag. Entrepreneurial, opportunistic, maybe a tad mercenary, but it's a solution. We buy 20 little bags and empty them all into one carrier. I zigzag away from the Ghat towards the road, handing out sticky treats as I go. 1 each, no more. And everyone seems happy enough with that. At the road, I head left, hoping the right flank don't see me. I'm on autopilot now, putting 1 ball on every plate, in every bowl or hand. I come to a young lad squatting in line with the rest. I'm not sure how old he is, maybe somewhere between 6 and 8, but he's tiny. A lifetime of malnutrition does not facilitate growth. He wears the threadbare purple fleece top and green joggers kept up by an old bootlace. The boy has the unmistakable features of Down syndrome. There's no shortage of children here, and that's bad enough. But not only is this lad reduced to squatting in the street begging for meagre handouts, he has Down syndrome too. One ball each doesn't apply anymore. I give him 2, 3, 4. Holding what I have already given him, he reaches for the bag, trying to see inside. Sorry, fella, it's just more of the same. If there was a life that didn't suck so badly in there, it would be yours for the taking. But sadly, it's just so heartbreaking. He's such a sweet kid, so innocent, and dealt such a crap hand. I show him my camera and ask in gestures if I can take a photo. But he just stares at me blankly. I find myself studying him, His eyes are slightly slanted and the bridge of the nose is flattened, making them look a little too far apart. His mouth hangs open, revealing small, misshapen baby teeth, and the skin on his face is slightly scaly. I'm not sure if that is due to Downs or just a life on the street. We stare at each other for a few seconds, but it seems like an age. I wonder what he's thinking, what is going on behind those eyes. I take the shot, just the one, which is very unusual for me, but it's a good head and shoulders portrait. The lad doesn't react at all, and when I stand up, he sits back down and peers along the line to see if anyone else is coming. I don't know a great deal about Down syndrome. Slow development and lower IQs are common. I know the syndrome comes with extra health concerns and, well, it's just another layer of sadness. The thought of this little guy curled up somewhere on a Kolkata street every night is, well, it's just plain wrong. When I get to the end of the line, I have a few left over. So I wander back to give him the rest. When he sees me coming, he jumps up and comes running at me with his arms out. I crouch down to his level and he throws his arms around my neck, buries his face on my chest and hugs me for dear life. I hug him back while struggling to contain the emotional overload. All this for a couple of featherweight lumps of puffed rice that set me back around 10p. There's a bit of perspective for you. When we disengage, a middle-aged lady who was sat next to him starts hassling me for money. She indicates the lad's dirty, threadbare clothes, touches her mouth, his mouth, and holds out her hand. I'm not sure if it's his mum or his gran. She looks too old for one and too young for the other, but it spoils the moment a bit. Did she see an opportunity, or maybe create the opportunity? I hope not the latter, but it was an emotional sea change from the lad second time around. I suppose I can't blame her really. Who in her position wouldn't try for more? And I want to give her something, for him. I want to make it a better day for this lad. Even though, on the surface, it seems I already have. But the eyes of the beggar horde are on us. If they see money changing hands instead of puffed rice, let alone paper money, we'd be mobbed. There's nothing for it but to move on. Postscript. Children on the streets of India is a sad fact. In the years since this day, I have visited India on several occasions and seen poverty on a grand scale. But the little lad from Kolkata remains embedded in my psyche. He wasn't the first by far. The problem is endemic. But much of the guide literature for India lumps the poor, beggars, con artists, scammers, all together as pests to be avoided. And that was my view. But the boy from Kolkata, whether prompted to do what he did or not, was still a homeless victim of Down syndrome. And meeting him changed everything. Keith took 3 pictures of the two of us, which I'm so glad I have. I'm still not sure why I took just the one, but when looking through my photos on my PC, whenever I come to that particular one, I find myself studying it, as I studied him at the time. He's looking straight into the lens, and very often, when I study it, I feel the eye contact, as if I am still looking at him in person. It brings the whole thing back, and I feel wretched all over again. Should I have done more? Could I have done more? Given them more money on the quiet somehow? Even if I had. Even if I'd given them a whole wad of cash without anyone else seeing. Such things are short-term remedies. A week or maybe even a month down the line is back to normal. I couldn't fix it then, and definitely not now. Ever since that day in Kolkata, whenever I see someone with Down syndrome, I think of that boy and the stark differences between the care he could expect here in the UK as opposed to Kolkata, where he would be extremely lucky to get any help at all. And I wonder if he is still okay out there. Is he still getting by? I hope so. And I wonder if anyone else singled him out for favour, gave him extra, maybe took his photo and got a heartbreaking hug. It would have to have been a tourist, and not many frequent that part of the city. So it's entirely possible that Keith and I possess the only physical evidence that this little lad ever existed. But at least it's something. Elsewhere in the city, and in other cities around the country, millions more, many of them children, pass through this world leaving no trace at all. Down. Written, recorded and edited by Phil Wingfield.